This episode of How I Built It is brought to you by two great sponsors. The first is our season-long sponsor. Liquid Web has been best known as a managed hosting company with tons of options. It's also designed a managed WordPress offering that is perfect for mission-critical sites. If you're looking for improved performance, maximized uptimes, and incredible support, Liquid Web is the partner you've been looking for. Every Liquid Web managed WordPress customer has iTheme Sync integrated into their managed portal, allowing them to update several sites with a single touch. Liquid Web hosts all of my critical websites, and I couldn't be happier with them. If you sign up today, using the discount code HowIBuiltIt33, you get 33% off for the next 6 months. Visit buildpodcast.net/liquid to get started. That's buildpodcast.net/liquid. It's also brought to you by Facet WP. Facet WP provides advanced filtering, also known as faceted search, to any WordPress site. It allows your customers to quickly find the content and products they're looking for. And if you are not familiar with faceted search or filtering, think of the last time you went to Amazon.com. You searched for something like blankets, let's say, and then you are presented with all of the blankets that Amazon.com has to offer. And on the left-hand side, you have a bunch of filters where you can filter by maker, manufacturer, color, price, rating, and a whole bunch of other stuff. That is advanced filtering or faceted search. And I've used faceted WP on lots of different projects, and I'm a huge fan of it. If you have a ton of content or a ton of products, Facet WP is the absolute best plugin to use to help your customers find what they're looking for. So head on over to buildpodcast.net/FacetWP today to see what it's all about. Our guest today is James Rose, and we're going to be talking about a product that he just launched this week or last week. When we recorded it, the product was just in beta. It's called Content Snare, and if you are a freelancer, you will feel the pain of the problem that Content Snare is trying to solve. So we talk about all sorts of great stuff like design versus content first, or things like actually interviewing people for the product that you're developing, writing copy and how hard that is, and a whole bunch of other things. I really, really enjoyed this interview. I met James through a recommendation of a friend, and that's how we got him on the show. So I'm really excited to have this launch, and so have a listen. I think you'll get a lot of great information out of it. So without further ado, on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of How I Built It, the podcast that asks, how did you build that? Today, my guest is James Rose, and we're going to be talking about a project of his called Content Snare. James, how are you today?
I am bloody good on this morning session over here. What time is it for you there?
It is 6:25 in the afternoon, in the evening, I guess, for me. Yeah, so I'm wrapping up my workday. You are probably just getting started with yours, right?
Literally just got into the co-working space I work from.
Nice, very nice. So for those of you who don't know or can't hear it, James is reporting from, I actually didn't ask this before the show, but Australia?
Yeah, of course. Brisbane, about halfway up on the east coast.
Cool. Nice. I have a friend from Melbourne.
Yes. Yeah, Melbourne, as some of you guys would say. You did a very good job of that.
Thank you. Yeah, she made it very clear to me that it's not Melbourne. Melbourne is in Florida. I live in Melbourne, Florida. Yeah. So.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we'll be talking all about your product Content Snare. So why don't we start things off by you letting us know who you are, what you do, and what Content Snare is.
Cool. Well, I'm James, obviously. So we co-founded a software development business in about 2010. I was an engineer at the time, just kind of sick of working for the man, and we started a little business with my manager at the time, who's now my co-founder and other director. And that was in SEO. I don't know if you remember articles spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a dodgy SEO content technique. All the products at the time kind of sucked, and we decided we could do one better, and that's kind of where we cut our teeth and learned how to market things, because we were pretty bad at it for about 4 years. Yeah, so that was the start, and then we got into building websites for clients because everyone seemed to have stories of shonky web developers. Like everyone had a story about getting screwed over. So we thought, why don't we just do this and not screw people over? And I'm sure we'll make a good business out of it. And then we kind of always wanted to get back into software at some point, and that's when during the process of building websites we noticed a few bottlenecks, and the biggest one by far was getting content out of clients. So that's basically how the idea started. And yeah, now we went beta 2 days ago, which is why this week sucks. It's very, very busy. So yeah, and basically it's a way to help automate the process of getting content out of your clients and like a central place to put all that content, so that you're not chasing up multiple emails and getting these like Google Docs or Word docs or whatever back with like red instructions in italics that say, please link this word to the about page, just all that. This is the crap you see over and over and over. So yeah, we're trying to help eliminate that a little bit.
That's excellent for a lot of reasons. Then, so spoken like a true veteran of the field, right? So you get it back in whatever format is best for the client, which is great, but inconsistent, and then I end up losing things in email. But the other is that it's very hard to get content out of clients, and most designers will tell you that you should have the content at the start so that they know what they're designing.
Absolutely. Like there's I guess a little bit of debate around that, like design first or content first. Yeah. People do one or the other, but I like to think that content first is a good idea. And that's kind of why I like the concept of this. Like my project manager is hitting me up for Content Snare every other day. She's like, "Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet?" For this reason, because it's just, if you can get that content first, it makes the build so much easier. And if the idea is that you'd be able to set this onto your clients, say all the content you need, sort of you might do your wireframe, or you might do a little strategic or planning stage, box out all the content that you need or plan it out, and then just send it to the client and not worry about it until it all comes back, or you get a copywriter in or whatever. But that's how we intend to use it, so that when that notification comes back and it says that all the content's ready, that's when the website goes into the build queue. And we say to clients, until you get us content back, you're not going to be in the queue, right? We're not promising any dates until you get us the content.
Yeah, and it's great because they can actually see their progress, right?
Yeah, indeed, yes.
Yeah, that's excellent. And then on top of that, the project isn't waiting on content at the end, so you'll launch faster and invoice faster and hopefully get paid faster. So
that's the plan.
Very cool. So this is the first maybe type of product that focuses on this. Before you built Content Snare, did you do any research to see if there was other things out there?
Yeah, we did. We did find one. Well, I don't know. There's a few out there that kind of do bits and pieces of what we're trying to do. None seem to fit the workflow very well. But yeah, we did a lot of research. The funny thing is, I'm still finding things that you could kind of use. Like I spent a lot of time in Facebook groups, and someone posted one the other day that was kind of almost built for this. Like you send a little request to a client with a couple of fields, and they fill it out and send it back. But it was more made for like small requests, not like trying to build a whole website. And we actually, and I mean, I used a product like this a couple of years ago called, I think it was Squirrel or something. It shut down now, but my bookkeeper used to use it. That's how I found out about it. And he's actually interested in Content Snare. So, I mean, to be able to get information back from his clients about bookkeeping, so yeah, we talked to so many people. I mean, that was the biggest research phase, was actually interviewing people, because the idea sort of was a little bit different in the beginning. It was more of like a briefing tool, and then content was like an afterthought. But I interviewed 15 designers locally, and every single one of them focused on content being their biggest problem. So that's kind of, we pivoted before we even started there. And yeah, so that was probably the biggest research. And then it was, just looking around for other products. We did find a few similar things. And then, I mean, I don't know if you count this as research, but throwing up a landing page and trying to get word out, right?
Yeah.
That was the most important thing. And it's with every software, with any business you're going to launch, trying to somewhat validate it before you build it. And just the language people were using when they signed up, because we had like a little survey after they sign up that says, what's the main reason you signed up today, which is one of the best things we ever did. If that's one thing people take away from this, that's it, because those people have basically written my copy for me. I know, like, I know the language to use. I know, I know what their biggest problems are because they describe them right there after they put their email in.
Yeah.
And that's been amazing. So yeah, the research, I would say, is that box and the interviews.
Man, that's great. That was like a mini masterclass in launching a product idea. Like, talk to people that you intend to sell to, and ask why people are signing up for updates or your mailing list. Because I have the hardest time writing copy, and it's mostly because what I have in my head for my target audience is just in my head, right? So I need to hash these ideas out with people I actually plan to market to. So that is great advice right at the beginning. We're like,
yeah. And you're right. Yeah. Copy is so hard. Copy is so hard. It's taken me years to get kind of mediocre at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so that's great. And content is hard too, which is probably why it takes clients longer to get it to us. But with this tool, hopefully it helps them move the process along.
Yeah.
Cool. So you just talked about interviewing designers and the people that you view as your target audience. Do you have any contemporaries you talk to, people in your field or maybe outside your field, for business advice and direction and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've done like business coaching courses. Like I recently just did, I don't know if you know James Shremko. It just came off. No, he's an Australian marketer. He's quite big here, but he runs a membership type area, and then he's got a high level mastermind. And we just did a coaching thing with him called Silver Circle, which was really beneficial. So, I mean, I do value that whole, spending money to get better guidance and stuff, because sometimes it's good to just have people outside your, outside of your own head, to bounce ideas off and stuff. And I do a sort of just a little private mastermind with some friends that I met at Tropical Think Tank, Chris Ducker's event.
Nice.
And so we catch up once a week, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, co-working space where I am right now helps, to whether it's just ranting at people or yeah, that's pretty much it. And now we've got the Facebook group with full of web designers, so they're the ones that give us the feedback on internal stuff, like the actual product.
Yeah, that's great. So did you, kind of like a sidebar, did you find it hard to build that Facebook group, or was it pretty easy to get people to just like sign up for the group?
You know what? I went into it with no expectations. I thought it was going to be incredibly difficult to build, because I know people that have done it now. Like a friend of mine did one locally, like a small business Brisbane group, and his description of it was he was the only man out on the dance floor dancing for the first 5 months, and he just sort of sitting there boogieing away by himself before finally some other people started jumping in. So I was kind of like, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
But we had an email list at the time of maybe 400 or 500. Like, it wasn't huge, but
Okay.
We emailed them to get this sort of initial little crew, and then it also goes into our email autoresponder. So I listened to Janet Murray's podcast, who's a lady I met. She's in PR, English lady, really big following, and she's good at she's a massive Facebook group, popular podcast, all that sort of stuff. And she says that just everything you should have should just focus on getting people into the group, not trying to, I don't know, get them to like your Facebook page or follow you on Twitter. Just pick one thing and go for it. And that was one of the best things we did. So in email auto, like the second email that goes out after they sign up, it mentions the group and says, this is where you can join. It says why they should join, benefits, all that sort of stuff. And now it's at the bottom of every blog post. So when they get to the bottom of a blog post, which is we're going pretty hard on content marketing, it says get some free advice and join the community, blah, blah, blah. And it just comes in waves. Like we got, I think, 30 signups overnight that I've got to go through and check and remove the spam ones and all that. We're about 650 now, and it's only been going for 3 or 4 months. So it
Wow.
surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you build it into your process like that, so everyone
Hmm.
sees it, like, I think that's key.
Yeah, that's great. And that's like another thing, like it feels like kind of where we've got information overload. Nothing's really nothing should be an afterthought. If you want to do this thing, you need to work it into your plan and incorporate it in such a way that you can't just be like, "Hey, I made this, join it," right? Because people are inundated with
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
And I think you also have to provide value. So that's one thing I forgot. Like
yeah.
I'm always looking for the best resources for web designers that I post in there constantly. And like my friend said, sometimes I'm the only man on the dance floor, But then sometimes a bunch of people join in and we have these discussions, posting engaging questions or, daily themes, like Mondays, like, what do you need help with this week? And a little post goes in there
Nice.
automatically and stuff. So trying to get people engaged is, yeah, that's the big thing. It's not just getting them in there.
Yeah, that's great. That's another great piece of advice there. So switching from kind of the marketing community building
Mm.
stuff to the title question, right? So you mentioned that you were an engineer
Yes.
before this, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you built it? If you actually had like hands-on keyboard coding or some of the methodologies for managing a team or whatever you want to talk about here.
Yeah. So I had a lot of help in this from my business partner. He handled most of the tech side of things from this. This is actually our first project where that's been the case. I've normally managed the team or the development team and sort of a bit of marketing. But this time we sort of had very clearly defined roles to make it easier. But I can still tell you how we built it. And
Yeah.
so we already had a software development team because we do custom web applications and SaaS products for people. So we were kind of lucky there. I mean, as far as hiring goes, I think this is one thing we've done well compared to a lot of sort of remote hiring. Like they'll just put a job up on Upwork and with
Hmm.
a vague post and get 90 responses in the first 10 minutes, which is shocking. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think if you can write a really good job post, that's where it starts, is getting the right developers. If you got to write a really good job post that makes sure only the best people come through, and then filter them and test them. Like I think the most important step is the testing. So having a small project that might only take a day for them to do and paying them for it, because paying someone a couple $100 to build something versus a $10,000 mistake, which we've had
Right.
before, paying the wrong developers to do something.
Yeah.
So if you can spend a couple of grand on testing 5 people or something, it's so worth it in the long run. Once you get those good developers, and then finding, that they might have friends or referrals, because the best guys often work with other best guys. So that's how
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and that's how we found our UX guy. He's best mates with our lead developer. So we brought him in, we got the UX done, and then we built the actual tool. And as for the tools that you asked, yeah, it's built in Ruby on Rails backend,
Nice.
or sorry, Rails API backend,
Hmm.
and Angular 2 front end.
Nice. So did you start doing this in Angular 1, or did you know far enough in advance that you'd be doing Angular 2?
We did know far enough in advance,
Okay, nice.
thankfully. Yeah, I know a lot of people have issues with that. Like it's like a
Yeah.
whole other language. I shouldn't even call it Angular anymore,
Right, right,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so that's because we actually use Angular with our clients as well. So we have a sort of cross skilled. We've got our lead developer at the time didn't really know Angular, but he's been very willing to learn, right? Because it's why not? It's another skill to add to his set. So he's been learning and sort of developing at the same time, and along with the rest of the team. So we only had 4 developers on this for most of it, 2 front end, 2 back end. Yeah, just to try and get it
Cool.
out quickly. It could have been, we could have
Yeah.
done with less, but we had everyone on our back to get this done. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that you're managing a remote team, is that right?
hmm
So what are some of the tools that you use for that? At Crowd Favorite we use, like GitHub and Git issues, but we have
mm.
other things to like track hours and client facing tools and things like that. So I'm always curious to hear what other people are using to manage their kind of remote teams.
For sure. I mean, we're slightly different because we're almost 2 businesses in one. Like we still do.
Hmm.
We've got another a business which do like WordPress, basic WordPress development, like really basic stuff, not like what you guys do at Crowd Favorite. And that team's all in the Philippines, and it's pretty much run with different project tools and all that. So I'll focus on the software side of things for now, like Content Snare and the web app dev. We use Jira.
Okay.
Part of me wants to say unfortunately, because I hate the interface so much. But luckily, I don't have to go in there much anymore. The team sort of have their own. We've got pretty strict processes in there for feature development and testing that my business partner built in. So if they move some code into done or whatever, like a feature into done, it runs its automated tests, and then it kicks off a peer review, and then we normally have a client testing stage, but we're obviously our own client for Content Snare. So then my business partner will check the feature, and then that's only when it gets rolled in. So that's our, I guess, project management structure. We use Bitbucket because it plays so nice with Jira. Obviously,
Jira, right?
Yeah, I think they have some Confluence stuff set up as well for documentation. But the one thing that's a bit different than most companies is we don't use Slack.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is different. That is different from most companies.
we actually use a Slack competitor called Glip, and we randomly stumbled onto them because the reason it came down to it really is because we had to pay for Slack because we had it's like restrict channel access or something like that,
right,
to a couple of people, which meant we had to pay for everybody. And it instantly went from like nothing to, it was like 150 US a month or something,
right,
across our teams. And it was just kind of like, really? Like, I know, like in hindsight now, that's really not that, probably something I should worry about. But that forced us to find Glip. And it's actually really cool. Like, it does a lot of the same stuff Slack does. I mean, it misses Do Not Disturb, which is kind of a critical feature for us. But it does some really cool stuff, like being able to add tasks into channels. So if you want to, it's got like a sidebar where you can add tasks and events and stuff like that, and they're always there. Where you don't lose them in the chat like you do with Slack. Nice. So I think that's pretty much it as far as tools go. I mean, we're deploying on Heroku because it's easiest to get set up in the beginning, rather than trying to have to get sysops people and all that sort of stuff involved.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. There's definitely some other tools in there, like the stuff the UX guy uses to show. I think it was called Zeppelin or something for like proofing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like there's all these like small tools here and there, but that's the major stuff.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. I'm definitely gonna check out Glip, which I just did some Googling while you were talking. It looks like it's owned by Ring Central, which is something that we also use at Crowd Favorite. So
cool.
Very cool. Yeah. So awesome. So I know that at the time of this recording, you are just into beta. So I don't know how many transformations your product has gone through as just launching, but maybe you could talk a little bit about, I know you mentioned what you had in your head is a little bit different from what became beta. So maybe we could talk about that as well as where it's going in the near future.
Yeah, for sure. And then that pretty much is it. I mean, there's this pretty major transformation there. Like I had this whole thing planned out in my head that after, the first sort of 6 or 7 discussions, I was like, they're definitely not talking about this as much as that's something I didn't mention before too, is not guiding people in those initial chats. Like I had this idea in my head that I wanted to do briefing, but I didn't focus on briefing. I said, tell me your process of your whole website. And then found out where they sort of focused on and sort of dug in and to work out where the pain was. If I just went in there and said, oh, do you need help briefing things?
Yeah.
It would have been a totally different outcome from those chats. So that instantly we ended up with this new idea, well, not new idea, but slightly tweaked, which turned into Content Snare. So it was a massive transformation before we wrote one line of code, or even did the UX.
Yeah, that's great, and that's so important, right? Because you could just walk up to anybody and be like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Would you use this?" Yeah, I'd use it. Sure. That's the least helpful feedback I think that you could probably get. Besides, it's not working.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're not going to be honest with you a lot of the time too. Until money's involved, most people, right. Oh, sure, I'll use it. So that was another big thing we did as a pre-launch when we had about 450 maybe people on the email list. We asked for Like, it was a huge discount. I think it was $60 for a whole year of access, just to see if people were willing to put money down. Money back guarantee if you don't like it and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But we sold out really quickly, and that was probably the next big. I mean, that was a transformation, but in my mind, where we've gone, people are willing to put money down for this, which I think is a critical step. A lot of people don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's people, myself included, are so concerned with rushing it to market. You want to be the first one there, but I ended up putting all this work into create a blog with WordPress course, and it's not popular at all. But like my Beaver Builder course, which I kind of built kind of on a whim, is the most popular course on my website. So
wow, I didn't know. I'm going to need to look at that, because I've been asking around for Beaver Builder training for my WordPress team for to bring you guys in. Man, I'm going to need that for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's the most popular one. So talking to your users and getting feedback early on and getting them to put that the money where their mouth is really important.
Oh, totally. Like, I mean, that's why crowdfunding exists too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And your other question was the future. Well, I mean, it's basically just continuing with this beta. Like I said, it launched 2 days ago, so we're just getting the feedback, getting feature requests, and getting bug reports and all that sort of stuff, and just dealing with it. So we've got, I think the first cohort's only about 35 people, which not all have signed up yet. So then it'll just be a matter of making sure we're comfortable with no major issues, then getting the next cohort in, which will probably be another 100 or so, and then gradual rollouts until we're ready to actually put a billing system in and make it happen, right? Hope sooner the better. It's just going to be gauged by how many issues we find.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, good luck with that. It sounds like a great product, and it sounds like you're doing the rollout right.
Thank you.
So the last question. So I actually didn't tell you this before we started recording, but I have the last question, and then for season 3, I added like a fast 5. So
okay,
this is like the bonus round of questions here. So my favorite question to ask is do you have any trade secrets for us?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be pretty bored with this one, but have a product that people actually want. My God, like this is the problem I see most people having, right? They create these it's like a cool idea in their minds, but they've done literally no validation. People that have built a product and don't have any emails yet, or they haven't been talking about it in the right circles, haven't been doing anything. They no one has said they even want it. And then, like we talked about before, people say they want things and then they never actually sign up. So it's just validation is the absolute, it's never 100% validated, right? Like, we could have people that just threw $60 away and whatever, and didn't really care about it that much. But it's still better than building a product where you haven't even talked to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you get that feedback. Like for us, it was really obvious that people wanted and need this just from the way they talk about it. If people are wishy-washy about it, they probably don't want it or need it, and you probably shouldn't build it. It's like the biggest mistake. It's kind of sad. I just see it all the time. We've done it. We've done the exact same thing.
Yeah, you get excited about something, then you go off and build it first before. And at the very least, if it is something that other people might want, it's going to take you... You're probably not going to see an immediate return on your investment, right? People don't... Very rarely does it happen now where you launch a project without really promoting it, and then it makes a bunch of money on the first day. Like,
oh, hell no. It doesn't happen at all.
Yeah, right. So that is great advice, and I think it's advice a lot of people want to hear, especially programmers. A lot of developers listen to this podcast, and I've got like a list of plugins that I want to write that I think could be commercial and viable, but I could spend 10 or 15 or 30 hours developing it to nothing, or I can ask around and see if actually people would want to pay for it. And
you've got that network and audience. So that's the other thing too, like I've seen audience first instead of product first. Like, I've seen so many people have no business, and they had an audience that they'd built up through like Instagram or something, just by posting silly stuff, or like, I don't know. And they've got an audience of people that follow them. And then through that, they were able to switch on a business in like 2 months, because they had the people there that were willing to give them money. So I think audience first is big. That's why we did the Facebook group.
That's great. That's a lot of great advice there. So thank you for that. And now, so this is relatively new. So I don't know how I'm gonna like intro it or incorporate it, if it's just gonna be like at the end or whatever. But
Sure.
I'm calling it the Fast Five until I get sued by is it Universal Studios for Fast and the Furious. So yeah. So here we go. Just give me the first four. Give me your gut reaction, your gut answer, and then the last one is a little bit more in depth if you'd like to go there. So, all right. So number one, what's your favorite book?
Oh, was it Rework? Rework by the guys at 37 Signals.
Yeah, very nice. Love that book.
Yeah,
I'll link that in the show notes. I think that's I think that's free now, isn't it? On the internet.
I actually have no idea. Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry, I'm going to do a second one. Never split the difference.
All right. I don't know that one. So
it's so good. So good. It's for negotiations, but it also mixes it up with stories of like FBI hostage negotiations and stuff. It's super cool, man. Super cool.
That's awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to check that one out.
Nice.
What kind of music do you like to listen to?
Alternative and fairly heavy. Pretty much, yeah. Like, I don't know what some examples are. Like maybe Bullet for My Valentine, and Atreyu.
Oh man, I ruined the CD that had "Tears Don't Fall" on it. Like, that song. Yeah,
my sister loves that song. Actually, I think she introduced me to it.
Nice, that's awesome. Very cool. What's your favorite food?
Buffalo chicken wings.
Buffalo chicken wings. Have you ever been to Buffalo, New York?
I have not.
Nice. They have like a whole wing fest in August. So
damn. All right. August is when my next USA trip is. Clearly.
Nice. Very nice. Hit me up. I'm in the general area.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Who is your favorite sports team?
That's a rubbish question. I don't do sports. No, if I had to say, dude, I don't do teams. So I have I like snowboarding. So. Pretty much just, I don't know, any winter sports really that I like watching. Let's go Tora Bright. She's an Aussie snowboarder.
Nice. Very cool. That's cool. The first person I asked this to was Chris Badgett from Lifter LMS. And his answer was a fella who does the Iditarod. So already we
good.
Just threw off the, I got like Utah Jazz and like the Red Sox, but first answer was Iditarod. So I'm like, this is a great question.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to call your question rubbish. I mean, it's a rubbish question for me.
No,
I'm so not a sports person.
I understand completely. Again, I'm a New Yorker, so
yeah,
I'm spoiled by good, very good sports teams. So I love the Yankees, and I love the Giants. So cool. And the last question, it's pretty open ended. So pick a topic. How did you learn what you know? So this could be like running a business, writing content, programming, whatever you want to go with.
Doing it. That's it. It's like, I was just trying to think of everything. Like when I was an engineer, you do 4 years of uni or whatever, and then you go into the field and you don't know a bloody thing, and you get thrown into the deep ends and you have to learn stuff on the job and work it out and ask people. And, so that was it, doing it. And then, when we started a business, we had no idea how to market things. I'd read a lot of stuff. Doesn't mean by reading you don't learn copywriting. So you just had to write and try to sell. And, I look back at as everyone does, you look back at your original copy and you're like, holy crap, what was I thinking? Like, this is shocking. So just lots and lots of doing it, man. Same as programming. Our first software product, we didn't know how to write code. Well, not in C# anyway, and so we just learned C# with Stack Overflow, basically. Nice. Yeah, it's always just doing it, man.
Awesome. Learn by doing. I love it. I say that all the time. My courses focus on that too. Just we're gonna build a thing with this instead of talking about high level concepts. So
yeah, best strategy. That's good.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Well, James, thank you so much for your time. This was a great conversation. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you. I think I went a bit over your time.
That's okay. We can edit and splice together and cool. and some bonus minutes because there was a lot of great advice there. So
sure.
So much great information there. A conversation that I wish I had before I launched WP in 1 month, because there's a lot of information there that I definitely could have used before launching WP in 1 month. So thanks again, James. I hope the launch for Content Snare is going well. I also hope that you were able to come out to the United States this month to check out Wingfest in Buffalo. So everybody listening out there, the best way for people to discover the podcast is to rate it and review it on iTunes. The better the ratings are, the higher that it ranks in iTunes, and the better chance there will be of people finding it. So head over to iTunes, give us a rating and a review. Be honest about it. I want to make the show better, and I want it to be great. So I really appreciate your time in the matter. And until next time, get out there and build something.